Damn chest.
YouTube no longer provides. Some people try to.
Slut from China. Street whore. Come on, you slant-eyed slut.
I don't see most of the comments on my videos. I usually only look at the top-rated comments on the first day of an upload, but not much after that. Some people try to talk to me that way, but I don't always know about it because YouTube no longer provides notifications. So there's no way for me to know when or if you've posted a challenge or question or what have you to whichever video that maybe I would have liked to reply to had I known about it. And that also means that if you say something that is actually worthy of response, then you'll never get notified if I post a reply to you. So we can't have discussions in YouTube comments anymore. I get notifications on Facebook. If you want to discuss something with me, find me there. And most of the comments challenges that I get are frankly idiotic trolls, acting stupid just to waste my time. And I'm sure that the featured imbecile of the day is no exception. Whenever I'm arguing with creationists, I have to wonder, what is the problem with our communication? Are they really that stupid, or are they being dishonest? And usually I find that it's both. Even sincere believers have been culturally conditioned to dodge and deceive and defend.
You suck my dick,
with justifications from the patriarchs that it's okay to lie as long as you're lying for Jesus. I try to help them understand it shouldn't be beyond this problem.
Stupid! Kiss that goddamn nut goodbye.
Sometimes the stupid things they say reveal a common misunderstanding that I think should be
kiss that nut
corrected anyway.
goodbye.
If not to help that one person, then for the benefit of anyone else looking on, who should know better, but maybe won't if I don't explain it.
I ain't talking Joseph
and since I've heard some of these misunderstandings repeated so many times, then why try to reply to that one person when they may never see it and probably wouldn't read it or understand it even if they did read it? So better to post it to all of you. For example, on my recent interview with theoretical physicist Sean Carroll, one of my critics said, "You're watching a man with no hope, no future, and does not want anyone else to have one either."
Suck my dick, bitch.
That is not correct. My hope, the hope that I really do have, and my motivation behind my channel, is that we can awaken enough religious minds that they may return to the default setting of thinking rationally, such that we as a species might still have hope for the future. Because Christianity and Islam both are death cults, offering nothing but perpetual and even violent cultural oppression and hostility and even philosophical restraints until our imminent ultimate extinction, which they will hasten. After which, they imagine that there is an impossible promise of a posthumous paradise, but only for the pitiful few thoughtless minions of one particular isolated denomination. To hell with everyone else, literally. Now, that sort of bewildering inanity damns us all. It is my sincere opinion that religious faith is the worst and most dangerous thing humanity has ever invented.
Slut. You prostitute
would be horrific if it were real. Imagine spending all of eternity perpetually kissing the ass of an inexplicably insecure, indomitable despot, as if that was the purpose of your life. How could that give anyone a sense of meaning? Especially knowing that any being worthy of worship would not want to be worshipped. If there was a God who knows everything, then he already knows how great he is. He doesn't need you to tell him. And he's not so fragile that it would bother him if you didn't praise him. You could even criticize him, and he would understand why you did, but he wouldn't care because he knows better than you. The ultimate power in the universe literally would not give a damn about the uneducated opinions of insignificant ants like us. And a loving Father would be nothing like the God of the Bible. Instead, he would be there for us, talk with us, actually forgive us for things we really did, not over what or whether we did or didn't believe. Punishing someone for what they believe is indefensibly unjust, immoral. If you think the Bible is a moral guide full of family values, then I have to wonder whether you're ready to sell your daughter as a sex slave. The Bible allows this for even preteen prisoners of war. A loving Father would help us be better, than anything the Bible says about God. Instead of commanding us to commit wars and torture and genocide in His name, He would intercede and stop the fight, helping us both to get along better in the future. The God of Abraham never behaves like a real father would. Remember that in the story of the Tower of Babel, God got angry when He realized how productive we can be when we work together. So He divided us against ourselves, so that we would fail. That's what He wanted us to do. Fail. Oh, look, they're building something neat. Look what they can do. No, let's put an end to that. No loving father would ever do that to his progeny. And what is the point of heaven? My grandmother told me that we'd all have mansions on streets of gold. But why would we need shelter in what is supposed to be a paradise where there's no discomfort? Logical inconsistencies like this is why the promise of heaven doesn't sell. What is the point of perpetuity? We don't need it, and we're better off without it.
Do you want to live forever?
No, I don't. Because eternity, under any conditions, will deteriorate into damnation eventually. There's just no way around that. You can postpone it, but you can't prevent it. And when it happens, it will be prolonged infinitely. Every description of heaven that believers have ever explained is unrealistic and myopic, if not downright terrifying. They are God-fearing people, after all. So they think it's great.
I'm calling myself out
for the
because I
entirety
almost
of
missed
eternity,
that.
locked in a room with a vindictive, judgmental, indomitable despot who can read your mind. So you better be thinking nice thoughts about him, because he'll know.
I fuck
He doesn't
his.
tolerate independence.
Oh!
He is a manipulative, malignant, narcissist, control freak who forces conformity and craves loyalty and reacts violently to inquiry or even a hint of insubordination,
What a
seemingly
dumbass.
out of weakness. Almost as if it's not God who is insecure, but the clergy who are trying to sell a high-priced lie for which they have no evidence. But if we believe them, and why should we, then we are sure
Suck
that
my
in
dick,
heaven
bitch.
there is no escape. Ever.
Suck my dick.
Not even
bitch.
by suicide. The philosopher Bertrand
God
Russell
damn it,
said
I
that
fucked
cruel
up.
men believe in a cruel God and use their belief to excuse their
Suck my
cruelty.
dick, bitch.
Only kindly men believe in a kindly God, and they would be kindly in any case.
Suck my
Men tend to
motherfucking
have
dick.
the beliefs that suit their passions. Christopher Hitchens described heaven as a celestial North Korea,
You suck
with
my
the
dick.
exception that at least you would be to die and leave North Korea.
You suck
from
my
heaven,
motherfucking dick, bitch.
There's no way out. Think of it like moving back
Suck
in
my
with your parents,
fucking
only
dick.
it's just like it was when you were a little kid. Because they have total control over you, and you have no power over them nor rights of your own, even though you're not a child anymore.
Suck my
You
dick.
have to be treated like one. You have to put up with listening to their ignorance and bigotry forever, and live by their restrictions forever. And you
Suck
better
my
keep
dick.
quiet about it, or else Dad will bring the belt, or Mom will bring a switch.
Suck my
That's how it
motherfucking
was
dick,
in my
bitch.
house. I've heard heaven described in many ways, all of them bad. So there is no appeal there, nor can there be, not for
Man,
me.
what the goddamn
But
fuck?
believers say, oh, it won't be like that because you'll be different than you are now. You won't have desires or free will or independent thoughts anymore. You'll exist only to tell an already omniscient being how great he is all the time so that he doesn't get angry with you? No, thank you. I've already been in an abusive relationship. I'm not having that again. Certainly not for eternity. So, how do I get out of that?
Suck my motherfucking dick.
What do I have to do to avoid eternity in heaven? Because I would literally rather just die. Because, you know, there comes a time when you get tired, when you're done with it. When you get old, you don't fear death anymore. It's time. Just let me go. Sleep. All the way. To the deepest sleep. Like 6 feet deep. Let me die completely and
Fuck that
forever.
goddamn shit.
When it's my time and I'm ready to go. Especially if I reach a point where every day I suffer physically and mentally, and even more so if the ones who once loved me also suffer emotionally and financially because of my diminished condition, then it's time to let all of that stop. Just let me die when
Bitch,
I'm
you
ready,
suck
like
my
everything
fucking
else
bitch.
dies. I don't need an afterlife, and I certainly don't want one. Oblivion,
Suck my
so
dick,
much
bitch.
better. that perpetual persistence
That bullshit.
in any form. But you don't get that kind of dignity in heaven. Instead, we have the inevitable monotony of endless stagnation, where you're still doing the same thing again. Again? Not this again? Doesn't matter what it is. At some point, you will have run out of books
Suck
to read
my
and things to
motherfucking
know.
dick, bitch.
You'll have done everything a million times over. You can't get better at it forever, and you don't want to do any of it anymore, but your sentence is still just as long as it was when you got bored of everything 5 billion years ago. And there will never be any way to just let it end. There is no point in still playing that same game forever and ever and ever. Stop it. Life is precious because it is short and there's nothing after it.
Ah, fuck you.
If we live for eternity, then our natural life is devalued. People tend to
That
value
bullshit.
most of that which is rare. And what is more rare than these few decades that we really have?
Suck my motherfucking
How much
dick.
did you really value anything if there was an infinite amount of it everywhere? If you've only got finite funds to last you, you're going to spend it wisely. And you'll be more appreciative of whatever you can afford. But if you've got $11
his
billion
reasoning really
lying around
fucking
all over
pisses
the
me
floor,
off.
all over the ground outside, wading knee-deep through $1 million bills as if they were autumn leaves every day, everywhere you go, then how would you really value anything anymore?
You suck my dick, bitch.
What is anything worth at that point? I heard a Christian minister say that if he couldn't keep on living forever, then there was no point in living at all.
Amen.
That if what he does today doesn't still matter 5 billion years from now, then he thinks it doesn't matter now. He thinks that if he is not eternally immortal throughout all the eons of time, then there is no point in being in any moment. He said there was no reason to prolong life, nor to ease the suffering of another. Because if I can't have everything I want, then nothing and no one else matters. Let him cry. Let him die. Why should I care?
Suck my fucking dick, bitch.
His was the most morose and grotesquely selfish perspective that I've ever heard. Which is just one of the myriad injustices that religion does to a human mind.
Suck my fucking
and philosophy, making you hate these years while you live. You better not enjoy these moments either.
Suck my dick,
Neither
bitch.
joys of food, nor flesh, nor of the arts, nor of learning, because enjoying any earthly pleasures, no matter what they are, whether it's
God
dancing,
damn it.
partially naked, to the devil's music, or having a beer with your pork ribs, everything good is somehow bad, according to some religion. Because religious belief is perversity, and a perpetual paradise is the ultimate perversion and prison. So how do I avoid this damnation in heaven?
Suck
It used
my
to be
motherfucking
that
dick,
the only
bitch.
way to live forever was to believe that some particular first-century faith-healing fraud had the authority of divine nepotism. That if you bought into that one guy's dubious sales pitch and gave his death cult all your money, then you won't really die. Your body dies, and no Christian gets to avoid that, but believers say, without evidence and despite evidence to the contrary, that we supposedly have a ghost inside us that is us, and will continue on somehow, but only if you believe in the magic powers of that one particular cult figure. So that if you don't believe in all of that, then you're already good. You don't have to worry about living forever. Just live, love, create, make most of the time you have left. And that's why the people who made up the fables in the Bible eventually invented hell. Because heaven doesn't sell. If your choice is between death, absolute oblivion, where you don't even exist anymore, versus an endless eternity of any sort, and you think about that for a few minutes, no, you're going to choose death. So the Christians had to change the rules, such that now everybody lives forever, regardless whether you believe in Jesus or not. So now your soul either goes to heaven to serve some sovereign, or it goes to Sheol, the land of the dead, to be dead, unconscious, not even dreaming. Still better than heaven. So the death that you would have gotten automatically for free in the original Judaism, and which is still an option in early Christianity, you now have to pay for in the modern version of that religion. Now, how do we do that? Well, back then they said that the wages of sin is death. Okay, so to avoid an eternal afterlife and get the rest in peace like I was initially promised, then I have to sin? Okay, how much sinning will I have to do to get my wage of death? What is sinning and how do you do it? How much is this going to cost me? But then it's even worse now, because now I have to be saved from salvation. Because now they're posing the empty threat of a fate worse than death for anyone or everyone who doesn't or can't make believe in whatever obvious nonsense the ignorant liars in the clergy are pushing. The authors of Christianity changed the rules, but it's too late now to edit out the old rules that are still in the book. We just have to accept that they no longer apply.
You
so
suck
that now
my dick.
there is no way to die no matter what you do. The wages of sin are no longer death, like it still says. Instead, they changed it to a life sentence, where even heaven will inevitably become hell eventually, and for me, that would be upon arrival. So you're literally damned if you do, and damned if you don't. The idea of hell is inconsistent with God. The notion of it is so absurdly, extremely pointless and vindictive that I had to reject that belief when I was still a child, even though I still believed in Jesus and God and heaven for years after that. Because no supreme being, or even a slightly superior being, would allow there to be a hell. Hell was obviously invented by the clergy to scare people into giving them money and power and time alone with their other people's children. The carrot wasn't selling the scam. They needed the stick too. And that is the real purpose and only reality of hell. So as an atheist, I have hope, not just for myself, but for humanity as a whole, if we can break our debilitating addiction to religion. However, this guy says I have no future, and I can't argue that. I'm 63 years old, so there's already that. But worse, I'm now forced to live without any form of health insurance. Just cross my fingers and hope nothing happens to me before Democrats take over again. Beyond that, I am perpetually impoverished by an economy devastated by a criminally corrupt incompetence, where my class of people are working longer, harder, and faster, but making less and paying more. My job makes it even worse, because I'm a secular science and social rights activist living in an authoritarian fascist regime that was once a free country, but where now there is a presidential task force that seeks to oppress and prosecute people like me.
Is there an atheist in the room? Any atheists? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to raise my hand to be in big trouble.
So yeah.
Any atheists? I don't think so. I wouldn't want to raise my hand to be in big trouble.
So yeah, I personally don't have much of a future anymore, not since the election last year. But at least I had a really good past. This guy went on to lament that 328,000 people follow me, as if that makes this a clown world. Yes, we live in a clown world. Elect a clown, expect a circus. Except that it's not funny. We live in a world where 39% of Americans support Donald Trump somehow, still, despite everything. Every embarrassing or horrible atrocity he causes every day, and every new crime we find out about, even though there are ever more of them and they keep getting worse, there are people who still follow him, even to their own demise. That same faction who support Trump also rejects science to make believe in creationism and specifically Christian nationalism, which is usually also white nationalism. It's a Venn diagram that is merging into a circle, with the widening overlap of everything evil and stupid in the middle. This, I think, is probably due to the statistical correlation that the more educated someone is, the more they know, the less they believe, or the less likely they are to believe in supernatural assertions. Plus the negative correlation that religious believers are statistically less intelligent than non-believers.
My name is Keegan, and I talk about the psychology of politics, and I guess religion for right now. A meta-analysis of 63 prior studies, including data from 137 countries and all 50 U.S. states. Religious people are less intelligent, and the theorized reasons as to why are, number one, intelligent people are less conforming. Number two, intelligent people tend to think more analytically, as opposed to more intuitive, gut-feeling style thinking. And the research shows that analytical thinking undermines religious belief. And number three, this is the most interesting one. What religion provides is also provided by higher intelligence. For example, religion helps you cope with fear of death, fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty, and fear of the chaos and randomness of the world. Intelligence also reduces these fears. Religion provides a blueprint on how to act and helps with self-discipline. Well, intelligence is also associated with self-regulation and self-control abilities. Religion can be self-enhancing, aka giving people a feeling of self-worth. Intelligence does this as well. Here's another interesting thing. The data clearly shows that intelligence matters more than education, with an effect size 3 times larger. By the way, how strong was the correlation between lower intelligence and religiosity? In order to nullify these results, there would have to be over 10,000 new studies showing zero correlation between intelligence and religiosity.
Knowing this, you might not be surprised to learn that while the religious extremists are all on the authoritarian right, the intellectuals of the world are not only predominantly secular, but they also lean left. I don't think this is innate, nor necessarily genetic, but it is true that authoritarian forced conformity appeals to the religious people, and that religion has special appeal to stupid people, irrational people, because
when you learn how to speak to a person's conscience and circumnavigate the intellect, the subject of evolution seems to disappear.
Young Earth creationist Kirk Cameron meant to say circumvent here, not circumnavigate. He's not starting from the intellect and then traveling all the way around it to come back to it. No. He's
evolution seems to navigate the intellect, to speak to a person's conscience, and circumnavigate the intellect. The subject of evolution seems to disappear.
Young Earth creationist Kirk Cameron meant to say circumvent here, not circumnavigate. He's not starting from the intellect and then traveling all the way around it to come back to it. No. He's treating the intellect as an obstacle to credulous belief and unsupported assertions of impossible absurdity. The intellect is an obstacle to being completely fooled by indefensible nonsense without question, reservation, or reason. That he chose the wrong word there proves my point that religion is stupefying.
I'm occasionally asked what the biggest gripe is, my biggest beef is with my former faith. I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian home. I was a student leader, a spokesperson for Youth for Christ. I was a broadcaster for a successful Christian radio station in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a dozen years. I was a true blue believer in Jesus Christ and really wasn't given a choice to be anything else, you know. And now I'm an atheist, and people will say, well, what's your biggest beef with Christianity? Christianity made me talk like an idiot.
Of course, this is not to say that there are no smart Christians. I know of several who are in some areas utterly brilliant. Their religious beliefs are often said to be compartmentalized, held separate from a rational understanding of the real world, more of an emotional perspective, not subjected to the same analytical scrutiny as everything else they hold to be true. Because it's a personal attachment to an idea that many of them will readily admit is not intellectually nor rationally defensible. And so we just kind of leave them alone about that, and then they can go about their day and live regular lives. So they don't appear to be stupid that way, certainly. And this is not to say that there are no stupid atheists, because, oh boy, are there. How do you think it happens sometimes that an atheist converts to Christianity? It doesn't happen often, but when it does, don't ask them to explain why they did. You will be disappointed in their reasoning.
I'm so glad
because the reasons that we call them that they
he just
give are always invariably
just
so much worse than if they'd never questioned the faith they grew up with in the first place. But on balance, there is no balance. The smarter you are, and the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be atheist. While the vast majority of stupid people,
I'm
with
thinking of those
few
fucking
exceptions,
poems,
are overwhelmingly religious. I don't think you get smarter when you give up your faith. I think that the smarter you get, for whatever reason, be it biological or emotional development along with education, the more you learn, the more you question your own assumptions, and the more likely you are to realize that religion doesn't provide any actual truth, nothing whatsoever that we can show and thus know to be true. Instead, you're expected to blindly believe irrational idiots, fools, and liars who obviously don't know what they're talking about ever. And this is when you are more likely to abandon faith as being invariably, inherently dishonest and auto-deceptive.
Fucking dick.
If you want an accurate understanding of the way things really are, then you have to realize that faith is not a reliable path to truth, but it's a great way to stay wrong about everything forever and never even know it. That is how you break out of religion, not through intelligence, but through honesty. For some of us, the truth matters more than whatever we might rather believe, whereas for believers, their belief matters more than whatever the truth is. So if you're one of those for whom the truth really matters, then you don't want to be fooled into believing anything that is not evidently true nor even possible. Nor would you claim anything to be the truth until or unless you can show the truth of it, the evidence leading exclusively to that conclusion. This is where faith differs from reason. Faith is pretending to know things no one even can know, which of course is lying to yourself and to others, and reason means understanding that if you can't show it, then you don't know it, and you shouldn't say that you do. Studies have shown that the more religious one is, the more likely they are to be both conservative and reactionary, expressing righteous indignation and moral outrage. They're more likely to support capital punishment and even the torture of prisoners. And likewise, the deeply religious are more likely to support corporal punishment of children. Rates of abuse, like homophobia, racism, and even child molestation, are especially high among the devoutly religious. I saw a study purporting that the more religious an offender is, the more heinous the crime against more and younger victims. You would think that it was just going to make people, forgiving and good, but no, that is opposite correlation. And again, I'm not saying that all Christians are evil, nor that any atheist is necessarily good. But studies also show that people who grew up with religion, who became ministers or missionaries or seminary students dedicating their lives to God, who then later began to question their position for whatever reason, find that when they finally discard their faith, then far from being lost like they used to think they would be, they instead find that they become more tolerant, less judgmental. They're more curious. They typically go back to college, often pursuing the science they were denied in their youth. Thus, they become smarter.
God damn it.
They enjoy life more now that they know there is no afterlife. They can live in the moment and appreciate it and savor the flavor of being. They're happier and literally better people overall. Even more moral. You don't realize how poisonous religion is while you're in it, just like you don't realize how bad smoking is while you're still addicted. But if you go a few months without a cigarette and then take a puff, then you'll recognize it as poison. Finally realizing what you've been doing to yourself all those years, and what you've been doing to other people as well. There is no greater enemy of smoking than a former smoker, just like there's no greater enemy of religion than a former believer. That is my hope, and the reason behind this channel. It works, too. Even after decades of doing this, I still get messages almost every day from former believers thanking me for something I said or showed them that got them thinking or got them out of their poisonous delusion and led them into a better life. Just knowing that I've helped so many people like this over the years gives my life a sense of purpose and meaning and even hope. I don't expect this guy to understand that. He doesn't even understand how to spell your, not as a possessive of what is yours, but as a contraction of the words you are. But at least he has already admitted why he believes and says what he does, because he is incredibly stupid.
Stupid, 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 stupid. The stupid machine. Stupid, 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 stupid. Stupid, 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 stupid. The stupid machine. Stupid fucker.
Hello, puppies and kittens. I'm joined by old friend here, singer-songwriter Shelley Siegel, and also another old friend, Miriam Nazi, who was the I just wrote this title. Miriam Nazi, who was the I just wrote this title down. I'm going to have to look it up again. Spokesperson of Council of Ex-Muslims of Britain, and we're talking about somebody now. Well, I don't know the story, so you're going to have to tell it. Ladies, well, both of you, welcome on. We're joined, of course, by my wife, Lalandra. And please tell us about the situation.
Lalandra, Aaron, thank you so much for having us. I wish we were here to talk about happier things, but we're very
Suck my dick,
grateful for
bitch.
the opportunity to share the story about Bailey's case.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. Hi to you and your viewers as well. I don't know, should I go ahead? Shall I start, Shelley, or do you want to go ahead? Shelley and I are both on the coordinating committee
Suck my
for a
motherfucking dick,
coalition
bitch.
that we organized to free Betty. And I think most probably a lot of people watching this will know if this on Betty Lashkow, or I hope that they know her.
Suck my
Because
dick,
she
bitch.
is this wonderfully brave and amazing
Suck
Moroccan activist who
my
has done
motherfucking
really
dick, bitch.
taboo-breaking and just
Suck my dick, bitch.
amazing work in defense of individual rights, in defense of freedom of conscience. So she's someone who, for example, in Morocco, started an organization for civil liberties, and via that organization, they did a couple of great actions. For example, they
Bitch, suck my dick, bitch.
organized a kiss-in when two young people were arrested for kissing in public in Morocco. They
Bitch, suck
organized
my
this public
dick, bitch.
kiss-in where they started kissing each other. And of course, they were met with a lot of violence and abuse by the Islamists in Morocco.
Because that's the way you respond to showing violence.
Yeah, kissing, violence. They're always usually against anything that's wonderful and nice and good for people to do, like kissing. And another thing they did, which was groundbreaking, was organize an eat-in during Ramadan. So they organized a picnic to publicly eat during Ramadan, where there's
Suck
a lot
my
of
dick,
pressure.
bitch.
And it's actually illegal to eat in public, so they were arrested and they were harassed.
So they were
So something like
arrested.
that, or she's gone and made public fountains red as a protest to violence against women. And the latest thing, of course, that she's in prison for, she's been sentenced to 2.5 years in prison and a fine for wearing an Allah is lesbian t-shirt. And she wore the t-shirt actually in London, as an event in London, but she has been sentenced.
If you save your whore, I'm gonna stick my dick in your root
And she's
butt.
been there since August 10th.
God fucking
Until
damn.
early December, she was in solitary confinement.
God damn it.
At the time, she has no mattress still. She is in a cold prison cell, and she's also got cancer. So, or she's a survivor of cancer, let's say. So, she's got a prosthesis, and she's at risk of losing her arm because she was in need of an operation before she was arrested. So this is just basically a summary of her case and why we're here today and organizing for her release.
This is somebody who has fought for human rights, fought for freedom of conscience for over a decade, has taken great personal risk for the personal freedom of everybody in Morocco. She also started the first day against homophobia and transphobia in Morocco. She brought Women on Waves to Morocco, which is a Dutch abortion clinic that goes on the water and provides services to women. She brought that to Morocco. She's just so brave and so bold in her advocacy for her fellow humans, and so we're very
Goddamn motherfuckers
getting
trying
the
to
word
get
out,
his Uzi
putting
on
the
right
pressure
now.
to
Suck
have
my
her released.
motherfucking dick, bitch.
Her life is in danger because she is in a unique situation with her health problems, because if she doesn't have her prosthetic bone replaced,
Suck my
she
motherfucking dick,
could have an
bitch.
infection, she could lose her arm, and she could die. And we need to raise awareness. We currently have approximately 10,000 signatures across various campaigns, various you can sign petitions. Thank you, Mariam. So we have freebetty.org, which I think is in the below, and there you can sign petitions. You can read more information about the case. You can read more about the work that she's done. We have assets in there as well for people to share about the campaign on social media. We have a coalition of over 100 organizations around the world, feminist organizations, LGBTQ organizations, human rights organizations supporting her and her cause and calling for her release. We have these organizations represent hundreds of thousands of people, and so this is a desperate, urgent call to raise awareness and call for the immediate release of Betty Ibtisam.
So there's only so many people that will be watching this video live, so please share it. There is a link in the description if you want to help out that way. And I'm keen to hear more. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what to ask. Laundra, how about you?
Hi. So what are you able to talk to her at all?
We're spin. That's it. We're spinning
in very close touch with her sister Siham, who we contact practically every day to discuss her case, to decide on advocacy measures we're going to take. So Haram Doodles, Shelly, Saba, and I are part of the coordinating committee. And so via her sister we get updates, and Betsy knows about the work that we have. She's very grateful, and it's giving her hope in a very desperate time. So we get all those updates from Siham, and unfortunately the situation is dire because, as Shelley said, she does need an operation. Actually, it has separated, the cervix is loosened, and she is having difficulty managing basic things on her own, like having a shower or putting on her clothes.
Suck my dick,
and it's also very, very painful. And this is a sort of operation that is...
Dumbass, you should have fucking moved that fucking bishop.
After she visited Morocco in August, she was meant to have the operation in September. But of course, because they arrested her on the 10th of August,
stupid!
Very specialized operation that actually can't be carried out in Morocco. So one of the things we had asked for as a campaign was that there would be an alternative sentencing, because that is a new law that's passed in Morocco where non-violent offenders, for example, could ask for an alternative sentencing so that she would be able to not be in prison given the, her health conditions. And of course that was denied, and the government and
goddamn the government
forces in Morocco have been saying that she deserves a longer sentence, and there's no way she should be released, and they're not sort of pandering to that pressure, that violent pressure. And what's interesting, and I think we all know this as well, we've seen this quite often, where non-violent expression has to be suppressed because of the sort of violent threats and intimidation by religious nationalist forces that free thinkers often face. So Betsy actually has worn this T-shirt since 2022. She wore it as a protest to the death sentences of 2 lesbians in Iran. And why this time she was arrested for it in 2025 was because there was this huge anonymous campaign against her, and she faced tens of thousands of rape, death threats, stoning threats, and they even tagged, Moroccan security forces in these threats. And none of those people had faced any consequences. And here is a woman defending gay rights and freedom of expression, and she's the one who faces 2.5 years in prison. So I think, it does say a lot about how topsy-turvy the world is, and how really it's so much always to the detriment of women's rights campaigners, free thinkers, atheists who are just basically trying to raise awareness on specific issues. And I think some of the points maybe we can discuss further, and we would love to get your input on this too, is this idea that, one, it's so offensive to say Allah's lesbian. A lot of people will say, well, she shouldn't have said that because it's something that's very offensive to people in Morocco. But I mean, Betsy's Moroccan, and there are, of course, people who don't find Allah being lesbian offensive.
I think God has the right to be lesbian if she wants to be.
Exactly. But
She can do whatever she wants, right?
but that is a key point now.
Maybe I'll get shot and won't have to. Maybe I'll get shot and won't have to feel these aches and pains anymore.
Offensive in the first place. These are questions I think that we need to raise.
I think partially because that would imply that Allah is female, and we can't have that in Abrahamic religion. Because women usually don't get names in Abrahamic religion. I want to address something I saw in the chat. Yeah, somebody said that that God wouldn't want this. That's right. If a God existed, a God wouldn't allow this. This is she's being imprisoned for a religious crime for blasphemy. Right? So if Jesus really loves you and she's in a Muslim jail, then Jesus has dropped the ball. He didn't do shit when he was supposed to. So apparently, Jesus is not in charge here. And praying about it means talking to yourself and not getting anything done. Prayers don't do a damn thing. So people need to do something. Once again, please share this video so the more people get to view it. Share the link in the description, at least. And I don't know what else, again, that I can say, because the first I've heard about this is from the two of you. I haven't talked to either of you recently enough, so it's good to talk to you again.
I know, it's great to see you guys, but thank you for amplifying this case. And, we've been doing other actions on the 10th of December. We held, it was International Human Rights Day, and we held an international action where
now buck up and move this pole down here.
It was a global action across multiple countries and cities where we brought mattresses to the Moroccan embassy, and we send the message that she's being denied human rights, she's being denied a mattress to sleep. So if you're not going to give it to her, we're going to send it to the embassy. And it was very powerful to see images of solidarity from all over the world. And,
I need to see more of that because my wife and I are planning a video where we're just going to talk about how shitty the world has become with respect to how people no longer have compassion for other people, even in their worst moments. And I'm not going to go into any of that, but I'm sure everybody's seen it. Right? This is just, when I was a kid, I had this understanding about where we were going to progress to. And we have taken a wrong turn somewhere. Something went south when it shouldn't have. We are not where we were supposed to be. And I think it's everybody's fault.
Someone in the chat is asking, does Betty have any legal options left?
Unfortunately, she really doesn't have any legal options left because the alternative sentencing has been denied. Also, the request for an appeal has been denied. And they even said that she should have gotten more than 2.5 years. So at this point, I guess the only possibility is a pardon. But again, for any sort of shift, there would definitely need to be a lot more public pressure in support of her case. I think we all know that generally there has to be huge amounts of pressure for a government to then make a decision to release a prisoner earlier than they're due to be released. So we are asking for that public pressure. And I think, Aaron, you mentioned something very crucial, which is this lack of empathy, really. And I do think it goes back to a situation now where we have been inundated with identity politics and this divide and rule that's coming from above, but also from below. People are only empathetic to their own group. And we see this constantly, you know, if people are dying, as long as it's the wrong type of people dying, it's fine. It's only if it's the right type of people dying that people
Oh my
concerned.
good goddamn.
And it is a cause of concern because really, throughout at least contemporary human history, we've seen how empathy and solidarity have helped to change things and save many people's lives. And right now, you have people saying, well, you know, she shouldn't have done it. This is an affront to Moroccan culture, and Moroccan culture needs to be respected. Islam needs to be respected.
Goddamn Islam.
Religion needs to dominate and oppress and don't step out of line. That's the message they're trying to deliver with that.
Exactly. And I think people who say that very often will challenge Christianity in power. They won't say, well, Christianity is the religion of the United States or of Britain. Britain has a Church of England as an established church. Therefore, we cannot criticize the Pope, we cannot criticize priests, we cannot criticize the Church. Generally, particularly free thinkers wouldn't make that argument, but you do see them making that argument when it comes to Islam, and I think people really need to consider, and I do understand it's because they think Islam is a minority religion, because they don't want to be, what is the saying, punching down, as they say, but they have to also remember that Islam is a dominant ideology in many places.
I would say that if the United States either did not exist or if the United States just went completely irreligious tomorrow, right? If everybody turned atheist tomorrow, then and just take out the United States from the equation, then Islam would be the dominant faith in the world. I had a debate with two Eastern Orthodox Christians a few days ago, and they said they were arguing about whether Christianity is logical. And they said that they would only defend Eastern Orthodoxy, and they reprimanded me for not looking up who my opponents were so that I would know that we're only talking about Eastern Orthodoxy. I said the topic is Christianity logical, and they're saying the only Christians are Eastern Orthodox. Everybody else doesn't count. Which, if that were true, if the only true Christians were Eastern Orthodox and everybody else is not, then Christianity would be like the 7th or 8th largest religion in the world, if that. The only reason that Christianity is the world's leading religion is because Catholics and Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and all of that are included, and the only reason that is because we have so many Christians in the United States. Islam would already be. Islam has been the fastest growing religion for many years, for decades, and will eclipse Christianity eventually.
The answer to this is probably obviously no. But are there any laws or regulations for how prisoners are treated in Morocco that can be people can advocate for her with? Like they don't have any protections for cruel and inhumane punishment there in the prisons. Like denying medical care isn't any kind of violation in Morocco?
Well, one of the things we've been arguing is that Morocco is a signatory to international covenants that do demand that prisoners are treated fairly